Right, the Women's Super League continues this weekend with another exciting round of fixtures before the international break. Keeping an eye on this week's big talking points, we have Jessica Creighton, who joins us now. Chelsea, as we know, top of the table, but nearest challenge is Arsenal. I mean, goodness me, they're in great form at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, Hayley, they really are. I mean, just looking at this winning run that they're on, 7 games now in all competitions. And if you look at their WSL form, they've scored 9 goals in their last 2 WSL games. They've been absolutely brilliant. And it comes as a bit of a shock because of that opening day loss against Liverpool right at the start of the season. But since then, they've definitely got their shooting boots on. And you look at the way that they've recruited Arsenal in the last couple of windows in particular, and they've brought in some real talent, and talent that has been performing very well for them in the last couple of weeks. In the summer, they brought in Alessia Russo, who, of course, everyone was talking about, who has scored goals for Arsenal this season, but also the likes of Kyra Cooney-Cross as well, and Chloe Lacasse. And before that, in the window before that, in January, they brought in Victoria Palova, who has been absolutely brilliant in that Arsenal midfield, really marshalling that midfield, which has been of particular importance because Kim Little is currently out injured, but Palova looks like she's been playing for Arsenal all her life at the moment. And I spoke to the Arsenal boss recently, Jonas Eideveld, and I said, is this the most talented group that you've ever worked with? And he said, yes, quite possibly, but also it's the biggest squad that he's ever had to work with. So if you take that into account, the quality that they've got, the confidence that they've got at the moment, the size of the squad and the recruitment additions that they've made, this Arsenal team is really firing at the moment. But the measure of success will be, as you asked at the top, can they challenge Chelsea? It all depends on the Arsenal stamina and that squad depth. If they can carry on the way they're going, then yes, they certainly can challenge Chelsea at the top this season.
And it's good to see, isn't it, the chopping and changing at the
really
top,
is.
Because we're used to seeing the likes of Chelsea really dominating, but Arsenal creeping in there, City and Man United challenging at the top as well. What about Tottenham maybe disrupting a little bit this season too?
Well, Tottenham are 5th at the moment, just outside the so-called Big Four, but they're level on Manchester United in 4th place with 12 points. I think before the season, a lot of us, including myself, thought that Aston Villa might be that disruptor this season because they finished 5th last season, they recruited well in the summer, and you thought, OK, they might push on here and they might break into the top 4. That hasn't quite materialised.
As a men's side they have, though, haven't they?
Yeah, oh my goodness, yes.
On the women's side.
On the women's side, they've dropped off a little bit. Instead, it's Spurs sitting in this 5th place, and that is unexpected because they've got this new manager, Robert Villapam, who is working for the first time in English football. They've also recruited new players, and as we know, Hayley, when new players come in, it takes time to gel, doesn't it? But those new players have been performing so well. Martha Thomas has come over from Manchester United, has been scoring goals for fun. She's playing with a smile on her face. And just look at her stats at the moment. She is the WSL's top goal scorer, 6 goals in the WSL. And in terms of where she ranks within Spurs, she's had more shots as a Spurs player in the WSL than any other player, and more touches in the opposition box. She's been a bit of a menace to WSL defences, in all honesty, this season. As well as her, Grace Clinton, who's at the club on loan for Manchester United, has been performing so well. She's only 20 years of age, but in that midfield, she's creating so many chances for this Spurs team, to the point where she's caught the eye of Serena Wiegman, and she's been called up to the last couple of England squads as well. So if those two can continue to play at the high level they're playing at, and Spurs can continue this run unbeaten since the opening day of the season, then yes, they can be that disruptor this season to the top 4.
Absolutely. OK, Chelsea, Champions League. We're all desperate for Emma Hayes to go out, aren't we? With some silverware.
It's the one trophy she hasn't won with Chelsea.
It is. We saw Sam Kerr starring. There was this incredible hat-trick. It was this 4-1 win against Paris FC. Could playing in Europe maybe hinder, do you think, their WSL campaign? Or do you think Emma Hayes is now placing huge importance on the Champions League because it's the one thing I'm sure she'd love to go out having won?
Yes. Yes to both questions. I think, yes, she will perhaps put a bit more... I don't think she'll say this publicly, but I think she might well put a bit more emphasis on the Champions League because she knows she's leaving at the end of the season. She knows this is her last chance to win the Champions League with Chelsea. She has won it with Arsenal back in the day. That was years ago, though. She wants to win it with Chelsea as their head coach. And if you look at the games that Chelsea have got coming up in the Champions League, they're playing Häcken, they've got Real Madrid, and they've got Paris FC. So they've got away trips to Sweden, to Spain, to France. That's thousands of air miles racked up into these players' legs. And yes, they did that last season as well, got through the group stages, in fact, reached the semi-finals. But they're doing it this season with a different crop of players that haven't necessarily got the same Champions League experience as the likes of Pernilla Harder, who's left, and Magdalena Eriksson. And now Emma Hayes herself has admitted that, yes, they got the win yesterday against Paris FC, and Sam Kerr got her hat-trick, and it was a comprehensive 4-1 win in the end, but they laboured to that win, as Emma Hayes said, and I think she was quite honest in that, yes, it was a good performance, but it was difficult considering the workload that they've got in the Champions League. Let's take a listen.
3 games in 6 days, I think tonight was the impact or the fallout of that. I thought we looked really leggy in the first half, so, you know, that's something to be mindful of. But the importance of the squad means that I think when we're facing Häcken or whomever, I still think we got the qualities to progress from this group, and that's our aim.
Right, well, yeah, honest. After this weekend, there's that international break as well to contend with, but a couple of crucial games for England. They're looking to secure Olympic qualification for Team GB next summer, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And crucial, I think, is the right word for this, Hayley, because there's 2 fixtures. They've got one against the Netherlands and then a follow-up against Scotland. They need to win both of these games to have any chance of Olympic qualification. This is how it works, just briefly. They need to win those 2 games to top the group and hope that other results go their way to get through to the semi-finals of the Nations League. And then even once they get through to the Nations League semi-final, they have to win through to the final to ensure Olympic qualification. But why that's up in the air is because look at their inconsistency. We're looking at these fixtures here. When you look at their fixtures after they won the Euros last summer, it was just win, win, win in the win column. But since the World Cup and losing in such heartbreaking fashion to Spain in that final, they've won, they've lost, they've won, they've lost. They're very inconsistent. They haven't quite found their mojo after that World Cup. Perhaps a World Cup hangover, you could say. When they lost against the Netherlands, you thought, OK, that wasn't expected, but, you know, the Netherlands are 7th in the world. They are a good team. But then they lost to Belgium, who are 18th in the world. That was a shock. None of the players, none of the fans, none of the pundits expected that to happen. But good news for England fans, Beth Mead is now back in the mix for England. She's been out for 12 months. She's been out injured with that major knee injury that she had when she injured her ACL. So if anyone can sober up this England team and get them back to winning ways and hopefully have any chance of Olympic qualification, surely it is Beth Mead.
Absolutely. And thank you very much for coming along today in true total football colours. Accidentally got dressed and blending into the background.
Can anyone
nicely.
actually see me?
Yeah. Just a floating head and some arms.
I'm sorry about that. Completely unplanned.
It looks great. There we go.
Thank you,
Lover
Hayley.
of a bright colour. Keeping you on top of everything, of course, and the fashion as well this Friday on Total Football.